Harlem, one man's name could stop a room dead in its tracks. His enemies feared him, his allies revered him. Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson wasn't just a gangster, he was a legend. They tried to challenge him, they tried to take him down, but no one, not even the most ruthless criminals, ever crossed him and walked away. Today, we uncover the story of the man Harlem respected, feared, and never forgot. This is the untold story of Bumpy Johnson. No one crossed him. Bumpy Johnson was born in 1905 in Charleston, South Carolina, into a world that demanded toughness from the very beginning. Life was harsh, and from a young age, he learned that only the clever and the brave survived. The streets taught him lessons about loyalty, respect, and the dangers of betrayal, shaping a mind that would later outsmart even the most ruthless criminals. As a boy, Bumpy faced challenges that could have broken most people. Poverty, crime, and violence were constant companions, but instead of surrendering to fear, he observed, studied, and learned. Every setback became a lesson, every confrontation a step toward understanding the rules of survival. It was this early education in the streets that prepared him for the world he would later dominate. When he moved to Harlem, New York, Bumpy entered a city buzzing with opportunity and danger. Harlem streets were controlled by gangs, and chaos ruled where the law could not reach. Yet, Bumpy was different from other young men chasing power. He had patience, strategy, and an unshakable sense of his own code. Violence was not his first tool. Planning and intelligence came first. Slowly, people began to notice him. He earned allies through respect and loyalty, not just fear. Businessmen, residents, and even other criminals recognized a rising force in Harlem. A man who could navigate the shadows of the streets and emerge stronger than anyone who dared challenge him. This was the beginning of a legend, a man whose name would one day command both fear and admiration, Bumpy Johnson. By the 1930s, Bumpy Johnson had firmly established himself as a force to be reckoned with in Harlem. He controlled numbers games, gambling operations, and local businesses, but his influence went far beyond money. He commanded respect from friends and fear from rivals, making sure everyone in the neighborhood knew that crossing him came at a price. Harlem streets were filled with competition. Gangsters tried to intimidate him, and some believed that brute force could break his rise. But Bumpy had a mind built for strategy. He watched, learned, and calculated his every move. Enemies underestimated him at their peril. Every challenge became an opportunity to show his intelligence and dominance. One of the most famous figures to cross paths with Bumpy was Dutch Schultz, a notorious gangster who thought he'd control Harlem. Schultz soon discovered that Bumpy was not a man who was rushed. Each attempt to undermine him failed, and Bumpy's reputation grew stronger with every victory. His ability to think ahead made him untouchable in ways that brute strength alone could never achieve, yet Bumpy's power was not built on fear alone. He had a sense of responsibility toward Harlem's residents, protecting the community from chaos that rival gangs would bring. People whispered his name with both awe and gratitude, recognizing that Bumpy maintained order in a world of violence. Loyalty, respect, and cunning became his currency, and by the height of his influence, Bumpy Johnson had become more than a gangster. He had become a legend. Bumpy Johnson's life was not without danger. By the 1940s, enemies and law enforcement alike were constantly testing him. Police raids, rival attacks, and assassination attempts became a part of daily life, but Bumpy never showed panic. Calm and calculated, he observed every threat, measured every move, and struck only when the time was right. One of the most dramatic moments came when Dutch Schultz, a notorious gangster, tried to undermine him. Schultz believed he could intimidate Bumpy and take control of Harlem's streets. But Bumpy's mind was sharper than his adversaries anticipated. Every plan Schultz made was met with patience, strategy, and precision. The standoff ended with Schultz humiliated and cautious, a reminder to all that crossing Bumpy Johnson carried consequences no one could escape. Bumpy's genius was in knowing when to fight and when to wait. He never rushed, never acted recklessly, and always kept the bigger picture in mind. This careful approach made him untouchable. Even in moments of extreme danger, he could turn situations to his advantage, making rivals and enemies underestimate him at their own peril. Despite his fearsome reputation, Bumpy never forgot his community. He used his power to protect Harlem's residents from chaos and violence that other gangs might bring. People respected him not only for his strength, but for his sense of fairness. In a world of betrayal, Bumpy Johnson became a symbol of loyalty and intelligence, a man whose reputation alone commanded obedience and awe throughout Harlem. By the 1960s, Bumpy Johnson had become a legend in Harlem. His influence stretched across neighborhoods, businesses, and even rival territories. He was more than a gangster. He was a symbol of power, strategy, and loyalty. His presence alone commanded respect, and his reputation had become larger than life. Even as the world around him changed, Bumpy remained a constant. Politicians, law enforcement, and gangsters all knew that Harlem had a king whose word was law. He had outsmarted countless rivals, survived dangerous encounters, and earned a place in the hearts and minds of the people he protected. For many, Bumpy was the line between chaos and order in a city ruled by violence. His legacy was built not only on fear, but on fairness. Those who respected him found protection and guidance, while those who tried to challenge him learned the consequences of defiance. Bumpy Johnson's story was one of intelligence and patience as much as strength, and it left a mark on Harlem that would not fade. When he passed away in 1968, Harlem mourned more than a man, it mourned a legend. Stories of his brilliance, his loyalty, and his fearsome presence became part of the city's history. Today, his name still resonates. Bumpy Johnson is remembered not just as a gangster, but as a man whose life embodied strategy, courage, and honor in a world where few could survive. In Harlem, one truth remains: no one crossed Bumpy Johnson and lived to tell the tale.